Hi, everybody. Welcome to Greater Minds Live. We've been off for a couple of months here, but we're back and ready to be better than ever.
Yeah, that's right. Refreshed from the holidays. Nice and crispy on this frozen day.
Yeah. And we've got actually a couple of new things to announce with the production of Greater Minds. We have in the past gone live on Facebook. We've started to realize that not all of us have the time during our busy days to kind of take a look at those, so we'll actually be pre-recording to give you better content and release those maybe later in the day. We'll be having some guests in. We'll be talking about a lot of new topics and content than we have in the past.
Yeah, a little bit different format than what we're used to with the past year. I think the last year was a good trial run for us. We had some good information that went out, some good guest speakers with us. But I think this year, with being able to plan ahead and also listen to the feedback that you guys give us, and that's really what we're looking for. You've heard Peter and I say this numerous times throughout the last year of our Facebook Live shows, that we are looking for content from you guys, things you want to hear, things you want us to talk about or bring experts in to talk to you about. So if you have any of that, please let us know in the comments down below. Other than that, we have a pretty good idea of things that we want to talk about throughout the year and some guests that we're working on. One of them being our very own GMAR, Travis Greer, to come in and talk to us about different things going on in the legislature and how it affects our business and our customers, our clients and everything. So some pretty cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, so we're going to expand the pre-recorded format's going to be able to allow us to bring in some of those guests that we might not be able to bring in on a live basis and bring you more valuable content. But let's jump into what we were talking about. Oh, I guess before we jump into what we're talking about today, make sure and check us out on YouTube. Check us out. We will be in the Greater Minds Facebook group. Also, you can find us on Apple, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify.
Yeah.
I'm missing any, Google Play.
I think you got them all.
Yeah, anywhere you listen to your podcasts, we are there. But let's jump into today. If you haven't noticed, things have gotten a little bit chilly, not only outside, but in some of our markets. I know we were discussing before the show that it seems that we've had a little bit of a slowdown, I think is the best way to describe it, maybe a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, a little bit of a change up in market. I mean, I think if you look back just, as recent as summertime, you've got places that are sitting on the market a little bit longer. We've got more price changes than I think we had the same time the year before. And, I think that's a difference that everybody's kind of seeing and feeling. Not to say that you still can have a great business and you still can help your clients, but it's just different.
Yeah, and we had discussed there's a bunch of schools of thought on this, and we've seen everything from the skies falling, we're having another 2008, to I've seen some people say, well, this is just a winter slowdown. I think the truth is probably somewhere in between those.
Yeah, I think definitely. It's somewhere in the middle there. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world as some people would like for it to be or like to talk about. But it's definitely changing, and we have to recognize that as professionals so we can best advise our buyers and sellers that we work for, whether it's, needing to price your house properly. You can't just, arbitrarily price your home as high as you think you can get and cross your fingers and get an offer like you might have been able to get 18, 19 months ago, when today you've got to be really strategic about it and pay attention and give them good advice on, say, you might want to rethink this if you're serious about selling your home.
Right. And we've had, we were talking before the show about the pressure that was put on, with sellers. Obviously, real estate's a lagging market, and with sellers that are listing now, we were saying a lot of the sold data, the days on market data we're seeing is from the fall. And so as this is actually, the numbers probably are not showing as much of a shift as we're actually seeing, but we're still seeing between a 50 and 150% days on market increase from summer to fall, which is it's a pretty big jump.
If you look at, just September of 2018, it was 33 days on the market. And if you look at to the end of December, we're at 40 days. So I know it's not that much of a difference, but it is on the upward swing.
Right. But the goofy thing is we have not, at least not yet seen sales prices decrease. I think that we are probably on the leading edge of seeing them go down a little bit. I think that once we've got those prices decreasing a little bit, that we might start seeing a little bit more of an inventory spike that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and I think that's going to relate to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, where if you take a look at a lot of the homes or a number of the homes that were listed back in the summertime, spring and summertime, that have sat on the market for a considerable amount of time, that are getting those price reductions, finally taking place in late summer and then did get a sale or came under contract and finally closed later in the year, that data, a lot of it is not out.
Right. So we're going to start seeing that data from fall and early winter sales. That data will start coming up in the next couple months here, and we'll really start to be able to see, are we going to be on a bell curve, or certainly on the tail end of the bell curve as far as pricing. We might see those prices decreasing. I'm really interested to see what's going to go on in the listing inventory, whether we're going to see inventory go up.
Right. Yeah. Are we going to see inventory go up? Is that going to create a little bit more of a buyer's market in the sense that with inventory going up, prices would come down? They should, based on how supply and demand works. And then a little bit of a question on what rates are going to do. Are they going to tick back a little bit more like we've seen them in the last couple weeks maybe?
It's interesting too, because we thought that we were going to see a continual rate increase, and like you said, we saw them tick back.
And that's I think the shocking part there is that it did come back, and I think the real question is going to be, is that going to be the case, or is it going to be that increase that we're all expecting in the springtime?
And the other question too that we're going to look at is, we've seen everything, and we're not going to get too much into the economic side of things, but we've seen everything from, hey, this might just be a little bit of an economic slowdown, to it's going to be a big recession. And I think the thing that we need to look at as agents is whether it's going, no matter what the economic conditions are, number one, is that going to be connected to another housing crisis or another housing shift? And also then, how do we need to shift our own businesses to adjust for that?
Yeah, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I think the real thing to get down to is there a shift going on? Likely. How drastic will it be one way or the other? That's to be seen. Mm-hmm. But what are you doing to take care of your clients, your buyers, your sellers, and to take care of your business? We're all here making a living and putting food on the table, so we want to be good at what we're doing.
Right. And at least for people of our generation that have that are millennials or late 20s, early 30s.
I'm on the borderline. A little less there than some of you guys.
The only thing that we know about recession is it's intertwined with housing crisis.
Sure.
So for us, those two terms are almost synonymous, and we haven't seen recessions that have not led to a housing crisis. So it's very possible that even if we lose economic growth, that the housing market, especially if the jobs market is staying strong, could still even out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to prepare yourself to take care of your buyers and sellers and to take care of your business, a really good thing to do is to get hyper focused on your business, to understand the pricing in the markets that you work in, and even not just the broad market that you work in, say maybe Oakland County or Macomb County or Wayne County, but particular neighborhood, particular city, particular section of those areas, and understand how the pricings work in there, how the days on market work on there. And have and be able to be educated enough to have a really good conversation with your clients, so that way they understand how the pricing, if they're getting ready to sell their home, how that should look, and if they're buying a home, are they overpaying, underpaying? Where do they sit? Right. And you can best help them by being educated yourself.
Yeah, and it's gone down from looking at the broad numbers. Even if I'm doing comparables for a listing, I'm not only I'm trying to keep it 1 to 3 months. 6 months is a real stretch, but I'm also I'm not just pulling the listing price and what the sold price was, because we're still seeing percentage of listing price being still pretty high.
Right.
I'm looking at what was the original list price, what were their price drops, because if you just show a client, well, here was their listing price and here were the days on market and here's what they sold for, that might not be telling the whole story. They may have been listed, maybe they sell at 180, they were listed at 200 for 50 days, they dropped to 185, right, and they were there for 3 days.
Yep.
We've seen, and this is we're discussing, we had a market dichotomy a while ago with price, where 350 and up were selling a lot slower than 250 and under. And now it seems like we've got a dichotomy in correct pricing, where houses, at least in our market on the east side, if they're priced correctly or priced perfectly, can still go quickly, even still with multiple offers. I was just in multiple offers over the weekend. And if they're off even a small bit, they're sitting languishing on the market.
Yeah, and I think we have to start also to looking at where the inventory currently is as far as the existing homes that are on the market that's still kind of low, and how is that going to be changing over the next few months? But then you also have the new construction market that builders are still building homes, they're starting developments, they're pulling permits. They're filling the void for that. For that buyer that can't find what they want in an existing home.
And we haven't seen, one of the big indicators of housing issue is building permits decrease, and we haven't really seen that yet.
Not in 2018 we haven't.
No.
I'm very interested to see what's going to happen over the next 8 to 10 months.
Right. And another thing too on for your sellers, if they're freaking out that they've been on the market for 20 or 25 days, it would have been 2 days, hey, why didn't my house sell in a week? A great example is if you've been driving for the last 2 years at 100 miles an hour, and now you see a cop on the side of the road and you've got to slow down to 70, you're going to feel like you're going pretty slow. But it doesn't necessarily that you mean that you're slow in the grand scheme of things here. And that, if you look historically, if you look 10 years back, 30 days on market on average is not that's not unusual at all. If you look in the early 2000s, we were all in that upper 30s, and that was a hot market then too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just goes back to, again, having those conversations with your clients about yes, you're right. Your neighbor, Bob, when he sold his house back, late 17, early 18, got X dollars.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different now. You got to be able to educate your client.
Right. And not only are real estate clients, kind of lagging on the information as far as time, but also I think as agents, we've been kind of trained to think in these time blocks of, I'm not looking more than 1 year, I'm not looking more than 6 months. But if this isn't what you do every day, if you're a home seller, I might have talked to him thinking about my neighbor who sold a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. Oh, he sold for this. Shouldn't I sell for that? And it's hard to.
And that boils down to one of the great conversations that's going on in the real estate industry amongst professionals is there's so much data out there, and we kind of get caught up in the data game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whose data and is it right? Is all this kind of stuff. That really boils down to what our profession. We are providing a service. We're the professionals. We're educated on all of this stuff because we eat, breathe, and sleep it every day, not every 5 years, 7 years. Or we're not taking a very high-level snapshot view of it, something maybe we saw online or that we had a conversation at work or at the PTA meeting or whatever it was. And I think that's really where your business has to go in putting that out there, that you understand and have the knowledge of what's going on and can convey that.
And I think it shows, too, the shift in what our role is as an agent. We're no longer the gatekeeper of information.
Nope.
Well, all the information is out there.
Yeah, we got tricked into thinking we were.
Yeah, but now it's now we have this overload of data, and our job is to interpret that correctly. The other thing, too, is if you are looking at national articles and you're looking at, well, hey, I think the sky's falling and this and this, as a client or as a home seller, well, we're there to be. For me, if I'm on a fishing, I love to fish. If I'm on a fishing charter and at the first wave, my captain starts running around yelling that we're all going to die, I'm going to be a little bit freaked out. And I think we have to be the same way as agents. If we have a couple of small waves here in the market, we've got to be the one to help those clients and navigate that properly and still end up with a positive real estate outcome.
Absolutely.
And I think it translates to one other thing too on educating your clients is educating your buyers that there can be now. If a buyer came to you 8 months ago and said, hey, where are the deals? There wasn't necessarily, they didn't exist, or they were very, very difficult to find on market.
Sure.
And I don't know that that's the case anymore. You've got buyers looking for deals that may be able to get one now.
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to spot the quote unquote deals a lot easier in the coming months because of just the that situation that we've talked about a couple times of houses that have been on the market, that are still on the market, that have had the price reductions, and are getting down to where they need to be. And for houses that are, they were, let's say they were way overpriced, but it was a knockout house, like just everything was done correct, and over and above. And that one gets down to the quote unquote right price, that's probably going to sell. But if a house that was needing some TLC and needing a kitchen and needing this and needing that, it gets down to the right price. It still is going to probably have some problems because, people are getting smart.
Yeah, well, the more selection that they start to have, if that inventory starts ticking
Exactly.
up, those are going to be the homes that are going to be available to purchase at a lower price than some of the the fully remodeled houses we've seen. And we're also seeing it on even some of the remodeled houses. Some of these real ambitious flippers that came through and are trying to get real high prices before some of this started to shift. Now some of those houses even have been sitting on the market, and there can even be deals to be had on those, which I think is something we haven't seen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's going to be super interesting to kind of see kind of what takes place over the next next few months and what deals come out of the woodwork. Maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just a short-term thing.
Right. That's hopefully for us, that's what it would be. Because honestly, if we get into a 4-month supply situation, 4 or 5 months on the market, 30 days, that's actually going to be, and if we can keep interest rates reasonable, this is going to be actually a good real estate market for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think, Peter, you just touched on a really interesting description of keep interest rates reasonable. Mm-hmm. I think one of the big things that we have to do a good job of explaining to people is that for the last several years, we've gotten really spoiled on mortgage interest rates.
Free money, basically.
As under 3% in some cases at one point in time. Today, even where they're currently at, they're still lower than in 2004 when every single commercial on TV and the radio and this and that was lowest rates ever.
8%, 9%.
Exactly. And I think people really need to have that in perspective. Talking to agents that have been in the business when back in the 80s when interest rates were 16, 17, 18%, mm-hmm. and they were selling the majority of their transactions on land contracts because a good deal was 9%.
Right.
I think everybody kind of forgets that or doesn't know about it because let's face it, I'm depending on what list you look at, I'm a millennial. I don't know if I qualify, but folks that are just coming out starting to buy homes and stuff, they don't have any perspective on that. All they know is right. They remember hearing 3%. Right. And now, oh God, I got to pay 4.5%.
Right. And so the funny thing too is, 8 months ago, every realtor's prayer was, I need more listings and a little bit, ease of pressure for pricing. Right. And we're getting that, and now everyone's, going a little bit bonkers. So this is probably actually for the best long term because we were running into an affordability problem. Yeah. Where houses just were not becoming, you were having St. Clair Shores at $130 a foot. If I remember that correctly, there were some crazy prices.
There's a natural progression. I mean, we can only have so many months or years or whatever that you're seeing double-digit increases before it sort of takes a reset. Right. In a sense.
So the big key here is as always, be the expert, yep. Be the trusted advisor, and know your micro market as well as your macro market. Yep. And I'm not sure, I probably listen to too much of the national noise, but focus on your market and your businesses. And we'd love to hear what your thoughts are on, do you think we're underblowing it, overblowing it? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Yeah.
And just to kind of close out, one comment Peter was just making is to know your market and study the information. It's interesting. Peter's business is primarily on the east side of town in Macomb County. Mine is primarily in Oakland, Wayne County. And I think we're on two different MLSs. Mm-hmm. You're on
RealSource.
Yeah, am I RealSource? I'm on RealComp. The cool thing is we have access to the same exact program that allows us to look at market stats, and it really breaks it down in a simple fashion. It's provided through ShowingTime, InfoSparks.
Yeah, if you are not on InfoSparks, hop on there. Take an hour once a week.
Yeah,
go through your numbers. Guys.
Yeah, quit or set up some saved searches for yourself to the city that you like to do the most business in, and your county and stuff like that. So that way, when you are sitting down with a buyer or a seller, you can say, "Hey, this is what's going on," and you know what you're talking about. You're not just kind of like, that kind of thing. But hopefully you guys found this valuable. We'd love to hear your opinions and kind of your thoughts on where things are at too. We're all out there working, and how giving each other the feedback on stuff like this is important.
And I think if I talk to 10 agents, I get 10 opinions.
Probably.
So we'd love to hear from you guys, and we will see you next month.
Yeah, next month. Yep. New show, new format. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.